or not getting success, it's not related to the success, but it's something which we are used to do. Prerna is a term which encourages you to do something new in your life and to help you to organize in your life. So these are the only few words I will like to say. Few words. This is a form of शायरी which I will like to say. तुम अपने गम को भुलाकर तो देखो, तुम अपने गम को भुलाकर तो देखो, बिना बात मुस्कुराकर तो देखो, राहें खुद ब खुद आसान हो जाएंगी, तुम उम्मीदों के दिए जलाकर तो देखो. इसके साथ I will like to hand over to Dr. Neerja again.
Welcome Dr. Pushpa Sethi, who is the president of the Indian Menopause Society. Dr. Aarti, could you invite her?
Yes. Now I will like to invite Dr. Pushpa Sethi, our president of Indian Menopause Society. Dr. Pushpa, please say a few words. I'm not saying anything regarding your...
No. Good morning, everyone. Dr. Nisha, Dr. Aarti, and everybody here. And I'm really sorry I'm a bit late. Just got late in the night. There was a case. But this program I really look forward to. And I remember last program was so good, and especially that talk by Dr. Ben said, management of the post-retirement years. And I have been looking, I really look forward to all the talks that will be there now. Something different from your academics that you do every day in and day out. So, and congratulations to Aarti, Dr. Neerja for conceptualizing this program, and looking forward to the talks today also. Thank you so much.
So, it is a great pleasure and to introduce and to welcome Dr. Poonam Bagga today. She is our first speaker. Dr. Poonam is an FRC. She is a fellow of the Royal College of Ophthalmology with special interest in oculoplastic surgery and pediatric ophthalmology and the diabetic eye. She is a postgraduate certified in medical education, and is a trained medical hypnotherapist and a mentor certified by the Institute of Management and Learning. She is also a qualified teacher and mentor for mindfulness-based stress reduction. Poonam is a very dear friend of mine, and we are medical college mates from Harding, New Delhi. I have attended her paid programs earlier and was very amazed to find that another person whom I used to follow and consider as my mentor was actually following her and using her as her mentor. So today Poonam will be speaking to us. Welcome, Poonam.
Thank you, Neerja. Thank you for those very kind words. Hello, everyone. So I'm Poonam, and I am by profession a trained ophthalmologist. But when I was seeing my patients, I realized that the disease is only a small part of their personality. It was the impact of chronic disease on their psyche that I became very, very interested in. And with that, I trained in medical hypnotherapy. And as I was looking after a lot of medical students and was named mentor for them, I went ahead and did a certificate in level 7 certificate, which is a postgrad level certificate in coaching and mentoring. And today I'm bringing to you the power of love. The reason for my introducing that topic to people is because I find that most of us in a very constricted state. So, and people haven't thought about their reactivities. They haven't thought about what it is that they're feeling and sensing, because most of the times we reside in our minds, in our brains, in our thoughts. We rarely drop into our body, and yet the mind-body continuum is such a critical one that once we learn to tap into the body, we can actually change our neural pathways. So that now is being called neuroplasticity. When we were in med school, we were taught that, oh, once the brain is formed, it can't change. That has now been proven wrong by lots and lots of medical studies, functional MRI images, and the evidence is building up constantly. So today I'm bringing to you as to how to maximize your life potential. And that doesn't include just your career, but really your personal and professional lives by thinking about yourselves and about thinking about love. So I'm just going to open my presentation. It's not available to you, but it will be sent to you. So my question to you, this is a question to you, and obviously we are not having an interactive session here, but I would like you to pause and think as to what does love mean to you? When you think or hear the word or visualize it, what comes up for you? Where exactly in the body do you feel anything when you think about the word love? And this is something, you know, when we intellectualize, it's one thing, but when we experience it, it's a completely different phenomenon. So I am requesting that everybody just pauses and thinks as to what is it that love means to you. The dictionary defines love as a feeling of deep affection. And when we are in that state of deep affection and dedication to ourselves or to another, the flow of the body changes. So what are the qualities that love brings? There are many different types of love. So there is the love between the parents and the child. There's the love between siblings, love between friends, and then there is the love between partners, especially in the early days. So there are many, many different neurotransmitters which are responsible, but the two that stand out are dopamine and oxytocin. My talk here today is going to concentrate on making people contemplate as to where they are in their journeys. So neuroscientifically, we know that when we feel love, we want to do something for that other person. We are ready to do anything for that other person. And in fact, if we were to talk superficially, most people would say, oh, I love my children unconditionally. But then if you went to your children, what is their perception? Do they think that you love them unconditionally? And that is where the discernment is with the parents and with the child. So there was, in the 1940s, there was an American physiologist called Abraham Maslow. And Maslow did a lot of work on how people feel and perceive, and then designed what's called Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So he decided 5 levels, and it's presented as a pyramid. The lowest most level is our basic needs for water, air, food, housing. The next level is about our need of belonging. So safety. Do we feel safe in an environment? And even though most people think that we are very safe when we are children in our home environments where we are well looked after by our parents, our grandparents, sometimes the child's personality is different. And whilst the parents may think they're providing a safe environment, that actually may not be happening. And that can lead to minor or major traumas. And I'll come back to that. So that is safety need. And the third level is love and belonging. So how well does a child settle in a family? Sometimes as parents, we think, oh, our child is very well established in the family system. But especially with alpha parents or parents who have lots of expectations, the child may find it really hard. And also, if a child's personality is different from the parent's personality, and the parents don't have a perception or understanding of that, it can really sometimes be quite challenging for the child to fit into the family, because they're always trying to please the parent and not succeeding. And both, this is happening at the subconscious level. So both are unaware of this dynamic. And that is something else to think about. So in the world of psychology now, there is a lot about how our personalities are wired. So that is, we are born with a certain personality. A very simple example of that would be introverts and extroverts. So introverts think completely differently from extroverts. And this is a world of extroverts, people who talk a lot, who are very happy in big groups. Unfortunately for introverts, unless the extroverts in the group begin to understand them, they become the silent minority. So, and I'm an extrovert. It took me a long time and a lot of contemplation to realize that those people around me who were introverts, they weren't getting a chance to give their opinions, speak up their minds. And I actually had to retrain my brain to pause and let people, especially in meetings, let people speak. My daughter is an introvert and I'm an extrovert. And that again, it took me a long time to realize that her personality is very, very different from mine. And how I have to actually engage with her, because I was forever giving advice and she didn't actually need advice because she had her own inner system of solving issues. But I was thinking, oh, this would work better. And that is something all parents need to be aware of. How often are we going into the advice mode? The reason why I say that is even as children are growing up, they actually have an inner resource of their own. And as long as we are watching them carefully, with love and acceptance, without criticism, they will know what to do. So, you might find a child touches something and we are saying, oh, don't go near the heat, don't go near the heat, you'll get hurt. Yes, we have to be careful. But if we allow that child in a safe environment to touch something hot, they will know next time not to do it. But of course, we have to ensure that they're safe. As adults, that's our role. So the important thing here is really to be thinking about ourselves. Very early in my mentoring career and coaching career, I started to look at personality typing. There are many different tests for personality typing, but the one that I find the most useful is called MBTI. And then there's another one called Enneagram. People think that personality typing is to tell you what kind of a person you are. And to some extent it is, but they often feel very boxed in, and then they don't know what to do with, once the personality typing has been done, what to do with it. This is very much a developmental tool. So once you know what your strengths are, you learn to play those up. You see what works for you, and you take note of the small steps within what is working and repeat those behaviors. But equally now you start to pay attention to where is it that you're tripping? What is it that's not working for you? And then you start to make small changes with awareness. So like I said, I'm an extrovert. In meetings, I would want to speak whatever was in my head. And sometimes, excuse me, my introverted colleagues would stay quiet, even though they had better ideas. And then I stopped doing that once I had become aware of that trait. And I would just state an opinion and then pause and ask for their views. And that became a much more holistic meeting then. We started to look at all team members, and we did personality testing to find out how we could maximize our team working productivity. And that worked really well, because in every team, there is a person with a big vision, and then there's a detail-oriented person. The detail-oriented person can often not see the end point with the big picture. So the two need to work together. And that happens even at home. Like when we have, in our very close family systems, we often have conflict about that. But that's because we think, oh, my spouse doesn't understand me, or my child doesn't understand my intent. But when we pause and look at what is it that we are doing, which could be different, then we will make probably different choices. So with that, I'm going to move on to talking about understanding yourself. So my question to you today is, what exactly do you think your values are? We live by certain values. Those are the things which are very dear to our heart, and we live those values. But quite often we haven't teased those values out. So an example of a value would be honesty. Another one would be authenticity. At work, and even in our personal lives, it could be punctuality. So when I speak about honesty, most people say they are very honest and they like to believe that. But then if I were to deep dive into it and ask, okay, suppose your friend was wearing a dress that you didn't like, but asked, oh, what do you think of this dress? It's highly unlikely that people would say, oh, I don't like it. So that, are we really honest? Okay, we are being kind, but are we really honest? So we need to examine our values and really know them for ourselves. And if I say to most people, oh, we are all judgmental, and they say, no, I'm not judgmental. That's another one that really requires thinking, because it's wired into our subconscious. We have been brought up from our childhood about making judgments. So judgment is different from discernment. As doctors, we make judgments all the time because we have knowledge. We put that knowledge together, we decide patterns, and then we make our treatment choices. So that could be called judgment, but that is knowledge-based judgment. Then there is judgment about, like, if you were to look at the Indian newspapers when we were young, where we want a fair complexioned bride. Now that's a judgment as well. Or if I talk about my child and make a judgment, I might say to them, what are you doing in school? Now, I have asked a very open question, but based on their previous experience, they might perceive that question as a judgmental question, unbeknown to us, because they are receiving that question in the light of our previous behaviors. So we need to be thinking about our values really carefully, because most of us haven't teased those values out. And there are a number of values, but each person has a different set. And usually we live by 2 or 3 big values. We may have lots of subsidiary ones, but those are the ones that we live from. I'm coming back to now, again, love. So I talk about self-love and self-compassion a lot. The reason for that is that when my own need isn't met, when I'm feeling unrecognized, then the chances are that I'm resentful about that. And when I'm resentful, I'm not giving my full self to the outer world. If you take a cup and it's empty and you try to pour from it, nothing's going to come from it. So most of us as high-leveled medics are extremely busy in our professional lives, and we are juggling multiple balls. So there's very little time left for self-nurturing. And in fact, we don't even think about it because it's thought of as quite often confused with selfishness. The two are very, very different. Selfishness is where you put your selfish need ahead of others. Self-love is where you accept yourself as you are. You recognize, this is my need in this moment. It may not be, you may not be able to fulfill that need, but at least you recognize it. And if you're not able to fulfill it, you ask yourself, what is it that's stopping me from meeting my own need? And also going deeper inside to find from yourself, how is your interaction with your other people at work, at home, in the general world? Because whenever there is resentment within us, the energy that's flowing in us changes. So there are many, many different kinds of love, like I said, but the starting point is self-love. you will often find that people who are critical of themselves have low self-esteem, but they are very frequently critical of others as well. And it's not conscious. It's never conscious. It's always at the limbic brain level. And the reason for that is the limbic brain perceives any challenge, which is somebody talking to me loudly, somebody criticizing a piece of work, or a comment which is very casual but has been perceived by me as criticism. All those stimuli are perceived by the limbic brain as challenges to survival. And it goes into a state of low stress. And when there is chronic low stress, our cortisol levels are chronically high with all the subsequent chains of reaction. And therefore, it is really important to start looking at how is it that we are thinking and reacting. And that then brings me back to how we live in our minds, because we are often in a loop of thoughts. Somebody has said something to me, I will think, why did they say that? They shouldn't have said that. I am so good and they are not recognizing my worth. The way to come out of that is actually to go into your body and see where is it that you're feeling that sensation. Like, it may be a tightness in our chest. It may be some butterflies in our stomach. It may be queasiness. Once we begin to recognize that, and we also begin to recognize the critical chatter in our head, we are able to change that. Neerja, will you tell me when to stop? You're on mute.
Another 5 minutes.
Okay, great. Okay, so what I'm requesting all those people that I'm now meeting is to look at how is it that they feel love and where is it that they feel love in the body. So often when we are in a state of deep love, like when we are with a small child, our heart seems to open up. And we have that feeling of expansion. When we don't have that feeling, that is when we need to go within and ask, okay, what is it that's happening? Before I end, I just want to do a 2 or 3 minute meditation to acquaint you with how to drop into the body. So if there are any questions, just put them in the chat and then I will try to answer those. But remember my example of an empty cup. Remember Maslow's hierarchy. That was researched very well, and it's often used in corporate sector, but not in the way that I'm explaining it. But if my basic need hasn't been met, then it's very difficult for me to meet other people's need. So I have seen patients and I have seen families where there has been trauma, like a child has lost a parent. And even though there may be a lot of surrogate carers, the safety that a child gets with having a constant mother around is different. And that child will come up with grow up with a lot of unrecognized stress. And when they are adults, their behavior will be different from somebody who's been brought up in a nurturing 2-parent family. So as the time is, and somebody's asked, is limbic brain the same as reptilian brain? Absolutely. So reptilian brain is the most basic brain and it reacts to challenges. Our cortex, our frontal cortex is the exact brain. When we train it, we can stop the limbic brain from coming into reactions. But most of the times, in fact, 95% of the times, it's our limbic brain that's functioning. And that's the hidden or the submerged iceberg. Our cortex has to be trained very well.
That is the brain which reacts.
Yes, that's the reactive brain. That's why it's called the reptilian brain. Like if you are close to a lizard, it just looks out of its complex eye and runs without assessing the situation. And when we are in that limbic brain reaction, we are in the sympathetic overdrive. So we need to bring the parasympathetic in to balance that. And we do that by activating our vagal nerves, because so with the meditation, we activate our vagal nerves to balance the sympathetic. So it's not that we'll never react. We will react because that's how we are wired until we begin to train ourselves. And that is the time when we can bring the parasympathetic mode. There's a lot about deactivation mode network and things like that, but that's for another time. So as we have just a little time left, I'll do a very short meditation. So I'm inviting all of you to notice how you're sitting on your chairs and actually observing the posture of your body and straightening your spine. Watching how your back is in contact with the back of the chair and how you're being supported by the seat of the chair. And then as you hear the words that I'm speaking, I invite you to take a deep breath in. And as you breathe in, observe the touch of the air to the nostrils and the inside of your nose. All of us have different points in the nose, on the nasal mucosa, which will be stimulated. So notice for yourself, where is it that the air is touching you? And as you breathe in, follow the air into the back of your throat and observe the expansion of your chest. And then how the belly moves out. And then as you breathe in and out, noticing the rising and falling of your belly, the opening and closing of your chest. And your mind may have already wandered off because that's what the mind does. But what we say in insightful meditation is the mind is like the ocean. We cannot stop the waves, but we can surf them. So let the thoughts be there whilst you bring your attention back to the breath. Just taking note of where is it that the air is going. Noticing the touch again with the nostrils and the nasal mucosa. Observing the opening and closing of the chest and the rising and falling of the belly. Breathing in and out. And if there's any sensation in your shoulders, bringing your attention to that. If there's any tightness in any of the muscles, noticing that. And as you're breathing in and out, watching your temples and seeing if there's any tightness there. And bringing your attention back to the breath. Breathing in and out. And actually noticing the marvel of your breath, because with every new breath, there's a new life. Because when we stop breathing, life stops. So perhaps even being grateful for the new breath as it's coming in and out. Imagining the breath flowing through the scalp into the nape of your neck. And into your forehead and into the eyelids. And as you're breathing in and out, letting the thoughts speak. As the breath flows into the angle of your jaw. Noticing if there's any tightness in the face anywhere. And imagining the breath flowing through the shoulders into your arms. Breathing in and out. Watching your breath. Allowing the breath to flow through the body. And then whenever you're ready, opening your eyes and noticing for yourself, what is it that you are feeling? What is it that's coming up for you? And just making that observation. So our breath is our anchor because it's always with us. We don't have to think of another anchor. And we can utilize this practice anytime, anywhere. When you become aware of your sympathetic stimulation in situations of conflict, you might think, oh, this is the time I can actually focus on 2 or 3 breaths. You don't even have to use many breaths, 2 or 3 breaths. And that's all it takes to activate your vagus, to balance the sympathetic. I'll stop there. If there are any questions, I'm happy to take those, or we can do them later, whichever. Thank you.
Thank you, Poonam. That was so beautiful. What I realized was that every time we take our attention to some part of our body, like the temples or the nape of our neck, which you cleverly took us to, so those areas, actually, the muscles, you can feel them relaxing. And I've often wondered why meditators like you look so beautiful. We met yesterday evening, and I'm constantly thinking, why do people like you look so beautiful? It's because that pinched look or that pinched thing of your muscles, when it relaxes, so that relaxation and that pinched look, when it goes, it makes you very naturally beautiful inside and out. And with all our viewers, I do want to share that thing that you touched about, selfishness, because people think that it is something very bad to be selfish. Like you defined the difference between selfishness and self-love. But there is a book by a very great philosopher, Ayn Rand, A-Y-N, Ayn Rand, The Virtue of Selfishness. It is worth a read. Thank you. And if there are any questions, we will take it.
There is one question in chat box.
Firoz, I
that-
have answered that one.
Yeah, I think
Reptilian
that
brain.
was asked by Dr. Neerija only. Is the limbic brain same as the reptilian brain?
Yeah.
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 So
Thanks,
if
everyone.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Poonam. And if there is no question here, I'm sure people will have a lot
I
of
think,
questions
yeah.
inside of them, and they will need to meet you. So I now
Neerja,
hand over. Yeah, Shobha.
Neerja, there is one question by Dr. Amrit Gupta. What should we do if we have any distraction in the surroundings? I think they are referring to the meditation time that you are saying. I think will it not be necessary to have a private space while doing that, because we can easily get disturbed? Yeah.
Yeah, yes, you can. And that is where brain training comes in. So when you're first learning to meditate, what I say is, especially with the breath, you can do it first thing in the morning, and you don't have to focus on doing half an hour of meditation. Just set an intent for, I will focus on 5 breaths. And if a thought comes and I realize that I haven't done 5 breaths, I'll come back to the breath and I'll do it and notice how many breaths I can focus on without a thought. Thoughts will float around, but without me going into the loop of thought. And then it becomes very natural after a little while. So it is about neuroplasticity and changing our brain. There are many functional MRI studies that there are changes in the frontal cortex, insula, amygdala, once we start to go on this road.
You know what? I am Dr. Shobha Guri, Dr. Poonam, and I really compliment Dr. Pushpa Sethi, Dr. Aarti Gupta, and Dr. Neerja Chawla for having, brought you onto this forum and allowed this interaction. I think it was amazing the way you spoke. And I am seeing a full circle here. I feel that you have connected mind and body and soul and the heart, I think, and all the elements. And we are now seeing that meditation, in fact, can connect us to our prayers. And we are also seeing that the way you told to focus, the same focus which we use while praying, and we are realizing that meditation and focus and prayers will change probably the biochemical endocrine processes in the brain. So somewhere the matter connects to the mind in a very tangible way, and the result is extremely good for our health, for our emotional health especially. and for the confidence level. And this is in some way has a very high pertinence to the psyche of a menopausal woman, because it is so rapidly changing. She has to adjust to so many things. And this is the time when she requires self-esteem and self-worth. And your session is very fruitful for that. Thank you so much for being here. I think I leave the other faculty to say something about this. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Poonam. It's a really a eye-opener session. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Poonam. I think the best thing that you have told us, in meditation, it does not mean कि वो बोलते हैं ना, your mind should be absolutely blank. It cannot be blank. The thoughts will be there. And at times when people think they have failed in meditation, actually they have not. Just concentrating on your breath. And it's wonderful that you can start with even 2 breaths or 5 breaths, whatever you can, start up with, and then gradually increasing, and the mind will float. So concentrating on your breath, and actually you could feel where the air hits you first. So I think that is a really very important point you brought up, and I think we all can start meditating. It is not difficult at all, and it really puts your mind at peace.
I think one very important thing was the connection where you feel your emotions. I think she touched on where in the body do you feel love. So that also is a very important thing.
Yes, that was
because
something striking
you have
and
to,
something very different, Nirja. I think you are very right. That was something very different, which we have heard earlier.
wherever you feel love or hate or anger is where your disease will actually begin. Yeah, Poonam?
Yes, yes, because the cells have a memory, and unbeknown to us, when we are in a state of, say, hate or anger, we are actually creating those chemicals, and some of them would trigger processes in the cells, which eventually will lead to disease, because every time we are angry, we are storing that trauma. So unless we learn to resolve, and yesterday I was having a conversation and it was, but we want to change the other person. We cannot change another human being because they have their own ecosystem. I only know my ecosystem and I can only change that. So how I respond. So there's a difference between reaction and response. Reaction is coming from the limbic brain, and it's very quick, and it's actually a wired in response to the limbic brain thinking it's protecting me. That's my survival. But it's misreading that cue, and all we have to say is, okay, I'm not a threat. Just because another person's upset with me, that doesn't put me at any threat. And if I bring my cortical brain in, which is why we are at the top of the animal chain, then I can stop to say, I don't need to be angry. But it takes a lot of work, because our limbic brain works, like I said, 95% of the times it's our limbic brain. So it takes a huge amount of work. I'm still on that journey 20 years later.
That is a huge bit of information to process, actually, Poonam. And I think this is not a 1-hour session. We carry with us so many messages for the rest of our lives from you. So thank you, Poonam, for
Thank
that.
you.
Hopefully, we will again, with Aarti's permission, we will bring you back again sometime.
Definitely.
For a
Definitely,
revision.
we will be back with Dr. with Poonam.
So I must excuse the appearance I am having of such a formal attire early in the morning, Pushpaji, because I have got a CME to start at 10, and that is the reason I am dressed up, and sorry for being out of place. So the next session is fit and fine and physical fitness, and Aarti was very particular that we must be highly demonstrative when it comes to this segment. So I brought you all just the person who can perform in this, particular time, and that is a very dear friend of mine, Dr. Aarti Prasad. Can I quickly have her CV? Aarti, I promise I will not do much with the CV. I will only highlight your different personality, because that is important for the audience to connect today. Can I have her CV, please? Kindly. Hello. Okay. Shall I read it out then?
Yeah, read it out.
Because I think we are taking away Aarti's time. She will not like that. And we will also not like that. I'll just get it. Yeah. So Aarti has been champion physiotherapist, I must say, very, very, very proactive in the field of physical fitness, especially for the elderly. She has got a very good understanding of how to direct older women for exercise, even women with osteopenia and osteoporosis, how they can, protect their bones, muscles, ligaments, and tendons and still perform the best. That is how I have understood Aarti's work. Thank you for being here, Aarti. You have qualified from Mumbai, 40 years of experience as a musculoskeletal physiotherapist, and clinical physiotherapy for the older women is your passion. You run classes for fitness for above 50 years. So you are just the medicine we want today. And you will be speaking on the do's and don'ts of exercise in osteoarthritis knee, and rather you would be demonstrating. The floor is all yours, Aarti. Thank you so much.
Good morning, everybody. Am I
Good
clear?
morning. Good
Yes.
morning.
I want to wake up everybody. I'm sure with that lovely session that we had, we were on a mental mode and we are suddenly going into a physical mode now. You know, the mode is going to be changed slightly. And if possible, I would like all of you all to join me because I'm very particular about just teaching a few exercises to all of you all, because we as clinicians, I think we hardly find time to look after ourselves. This is what I keep telling most of the people. We are so busy, and especially you, your society is extremely busy. And I see Shobha, she sends me messages at 2 o'clock in the night, middle of the night. So that means she's working very hard. Let me start with saying thank you to Dr. Pushpa Sethi and to Dr. Aarti Gupta, the president and the secretary, for inviting me to be part of this program. I'm extremely happy to be part of that. As I said, after such a lovely lecture, I really don't know where to start, but I'm just going to start from whatever is possible. All of us know what is osteoarthritis. It's basically a degenerative wear and tear, as it's called in our language when we are talking to patients, wearing out of the cartilage. Now, because of the wearing out of the cartilage, the most important thing that they have is pain, inflammation, stiffness, and there are certain deformities that can occur with it. So it can be a varus, it can be a valgus, it can be a fixed flexion deformity. Now, I highlight on this fixed flexion deformity because it is something that people tend to sort of overlook, more importantly. Now, the most important recommendation for osteoarthritis is going to either an orthopedic surgeon or a physiotherapist. And I, being physiotherapist, I would say, please go to a physiotherapist. So the most important is exercises are recommended for this. Now, what have I found in my practice? Osteoarthritis is one of the important aspects in my profession, and I see this day in and day out. Now, osteoarthritis can, to a great extent, when it is caught in the beginning, it can be cured, endured by exercising. So go to a physiotherapist if you have any knee pain, get it examined, get it assessed, look at the muscle power, and then start the exercises as soon as possible. Now, Shobha also told me that I should highlight the do's and don'ts. So I'm just going to, in short, look at the do's. Look at the don'ts first, and then we go to the do's. First of all, there is a lot of research to show that most important problems we find with exercising is people don't like to do it. They do it for some time. Once the pain goes away, they'll say, okay, chala gaya. So it's okay. Abhi chalo, band kar denge exercise. So adherence to exercise is something that is very important. So that is where I have noticed that if we can have a group exercise program, you interact, there's a social interaction. Plus, there is physical exercise that is going on. And I have found that women basically like to come together as a group and then do the exercise. So this is one of the recommendations that I have. If you can join in for a group exercise, nothing like it, instead of just trying to do one-on-one exercise program. Now, what are the don'ts? Remember, when you have extreme pain in your knee joint, please do not push your knee joint. Don't try to do more than 10 times repetitions or 5 times repetitions. If your pain continues even after 2 hours after exercising, that exercise needs to be slowed down slightly. That is the most important thing. The other important thing is, do not push your knee a lot when you have a lot of inflammation and pain, because you're going to inflame the joint a little more and your pain can increase. So do not, I repeat it, do not do high impact exercises. Now, osteoarthritis can increase when you have a high impact. Now, what do I mean by high impact? High impact is squats with weights, with dumbbells on your back, very important. Then burpees, going down into a squat position and coming up. And running with a high speed, trying to be a marathon runner when your knee is paining a lot or you have been diagnosed with osteoarthritis. Now, the other important thing that I really want to say is, people are becoming a little overdoing this running business. So please, even if you want to run, let it be a slow or a fast walk on a mud ground. The impact of a cement floor on your knee joint is extremely high. So these are some of the things that people cannot do when you have osteoarthritis of the knee. Now, what are the do's that we are going to do? Convert yourself into exercises which are low impact. What are low impact exercises? Aqua aerobics. Get into a swimming pool, get into a pool, get into water, if you are near a seashore, get into water. Please do exercises inside your water. Water has this greatest quality about being buoyant. So it gives buoyancy to your limbs so that your muscles do not get tired and your knee starts behaving in a better fashion. It is extremely important to understand that. So the most important do is get into aqua aerobics. Cycling is a very safe exercise for all of you all to do. Anybody who has osteoarthritis do. The third most important is start working on slow exercises. Start with the exercises that I'm going to show. You can start with them, but you start doing those exercises at a slow pace. Start with, say, about 10 minutes of exercising and then slowly increase it. Today, I'm going to show some exercises for you all with something that's called as CLX. But do not start immediately when you have severe joint inflammation, when you have pain. Do not start with those exercises immediately. Start with free exercises and then convert yourself to resisted exercises. So it is important. Then you can do simple walking. Walking on a mud ground is extremely good. No problem. These are exercises which are not going to harm you in any way. Now, since we are really short of time, I'm just going to really go immediately into exercise program. Two things that I want to start before I say anything to you further is, you have to look at two deformities, varum and valgum. Varum is bow legs, which we normally see in osteoarthritis, and valgus is knock knees. Now, with the knock knees, what is associated is a flat foot. So just by looking at the knee, it is not enough. I will also show you some exercises for flat feet, because the whole line of weight bearing changes with flat feet. So basically, I'm just going to show you some simple exercises. And if you people, do you think that you can do some exercises along with me, I'll be extremely happy. Now, exercises, the important other point that I really want to touch is, lot of people do yoga. Now, if you're doing Vajrasana, if you're doing Padmasana, if you're doing the Surya Namaskaras, that is going to be bad for the knee joint whenever your knee joint is inflamed or painful. If you have osteoarthritis, my advice to you is avoid Vajrasana, avoid Padmasana, avoid doing the dog position or the Surya Namaskaras, because there are a lot of patients who suddenly come and tell me, yesterday was this particular festival, I have done 108 of Surya Namaskaras and they are not able to work also after that. So remember, it is how these movements have to be avoided. Tai Chi. Tai Chi is absolutely doable exercise because it is a slow movement pivoting. You're not going to do any harm to it. Elliptical cycling is extremely good. Swimming is very good. I repeat, walking is very good. Water aerobics is extremely important. How do you start? Always remember, if you strengthen your muscles, the muscles are the one which are going to protect the knee joint. The muscles are the one which are going to give stability to the knee joint more important. Sorry. As you're going further, what happens is with osteoarthritis, the ligaments tend to become lax. If the ligaments lax, what takes over the joint stability? It is proprioception and it is strengthening. So I'm going to show you some proprioception, some strengthening exercises. So all of us, if you all can possibly stand up, I would be happy and I would show you some exercises. So I'm just going to adjust the monitor a little now. So the most important is I have weights. You can use weights. The same exercises which I'm going to show can be done either with weights or with what I call a CLX. CLX is a consecutive loop exercise. The advantage with CLX is that we can do exercises even for our hands without attaching it in any way. But there are also exercises which they improve co-contraction. Co-contraction of the muscle means your flexors of the leg, of the right leg are contracting, but your extensors of the opposite leg are contracting. So you give stability to your joint more importantly. And that is the advantage which you have if you do with a CLX band. So I'm just going to show you the exercise. If you think you do not have enough balance, then you can take the help of a chair. Chair here. So can you all see me clearly? Yes, just put your thumbs up. Right. Okay. So what we are going to do is we're just going to the first exercise is going to be standing on your toes. Remember, when you stand on your toes, you're going to be contracting all your muscles. You're going to be tightening all the muscles. The tightening should start occurring from here, from your hips. It's going to be up, down, and down, up and down. So that is the first exercise that you're going to start with. Since I'm going to demonstrate the CLX, I'm just going to put on the CLX band. So this is going to offer resistance to me. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a mind support, one finger support here, and I'm going to do abduction. So I'm going to take it out. Try to maintain your core. So just contract your muscle in slightly and then take it out. So this is going to be one. And then you're going to take it forward so you improve your flexor. If you have a CLX with you, then you realize my left leg is also contracting as I'm working my right leg. This is one. Then take it behind. Take it behind and up. Up. Okay, these are the simple exercises in standing that I have shown. And we will also improve our proprioception. And the proprioception can be improved. This is called as a soft pad. I have a soft pad doll, and I'm going to stand on it. And I'm going to put one leg. That's going to improve my, and then I'm just going to move the leg. I'm balancing myself, but I'm improving all the proprioceptive receptors around my knee joint, my hip joint, my ankle joint. So I'm improving all the joints and doing a lot of co-contraction. So I move it the way I want to move it. The way I want to move it, I can do that. And if you do not have a soft pad, then pile up 2 pillows and stand on 2 pillows. You will become a little shaky like this, and that is exactly what I want, because I want to improve the proprioceptors, and that is going to stimulate them. So this is one form of exercising that we are doing. Now I'm going to go down on the floor and I will show you the exercises. So we go down on the floor. Now remember, I talked to you about something that is called as a fixed flexion deformity. That means your knee remains like this. It doesn't touch the floor completely. So what has happened is the posterior capsule and the hamstrings become tight. So what we are going to do now is we are going to stretch the hamstrings. The best way to stretch hamstrings by yourself is go into a sideline position and stretch it forward. Pull your ankle towards you. I repeat, forward, pull your ankle towards you. You will feel a constant stretch behind the knee, stretching your hamstrings. Now I'll show you what we call as static quadriceps, which is a high favorite of all the doctors. So we just take a small roll like this, put it below the knee, press, release. Press the towel down so that you stimulate the quadriceps to contract. This is one muscle which needs to be strengthened, and research says this muscle is very important for the knee joint. Press, press, and then the next one is up, up, across, across, up, up, up. Then turn to the side, and you want an action of the glute speeds. So you turn to the side, take it behind, up, 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 and then bend, bend. So these are the exercises that you will do in lying down position. Include the standing also. Now I will show you some exercises for your feet. If you have flat feet or a pronated foot. Now, one thing I want to mention is the CLX comes in different resistance forms. So if you think the green is easy for you, then you can go to the next color, and this offers resistance. The advantage of CLX is that you can just carry it. You have a free OPD, just quickly do your exercises, then you're ready for the next patient. Now I'll show you some exercises for your feet, for a flat foot, because that's very important to tackle in osteoarthritis of the knee. So you take a towel, sit at the edge of the chair, and bring it close. Bring it close. I'm sorry, because the rubbers. Bring it close. Pick it up. Pick it up. Just pick it up. Shows my muscles are weak. And then try to lift it up, down, up, down, and walk on your laterals. Walk on the lateral surfaces. That's very important. Walk on your toes. Walk on your toes. Walk on your heels. All this is going to improve walking your small muscles of the leg. So these are some of the exercises that I would like whoever has osteoarthritis of the knee joint to start off with. So as I said, proprioception, strengthening, flexibility. Most important, stretches also have to be included in it. So you can do an IT band stretch. You can do a piriformis stretch, which I have not shown. You can do a quadriceps stretch. These are all a must. So you will be spending about a half an hour session for yourself when you start doing the exercises. Now I already crossed my time, I think. So Shobha.
Shobha is not here.
Shobha is not here.
Yeah.
I'm sure
But
Dr. Aarti or Dr.
She
Pushpa
has,
can take
yeah, she
over.
has one session actually. So I think she has left. She has
Yeah,
left.
so
But I think you have told us very nice exercises to the point, and I like your do's and don'ts, which really I want. Today's session is like that, which really I thought of. I want the do's and don'ts and the exercises. So I'm really happy by seeing your exercises and all the inputs regarding osteoarthritis of the knee joint. Thank you so much, Aarti. It's really good. If there is any question.
That was really, really an excellent program. Aarti,
बहुत अच्छा.
a very good job. And both our speakers, I think they made our day. And Aarti, Dr. Aarti, thank you.
Yes.
Because this is actually your vision. So thank you, Dr. Pushpa, Dr. Aarti, Dr. Poonam, and Aarti, and Shobha, and all of us who joined here today. So I think we will close here and meet up again after 2 weeks with another wonderful program.
And we will
Thank
again
you so
bother
much
you,
for a
Dr.
wonderful
Aarti and Dr. Poonam.
So, Dr.
Shobha
Aarti,
is
that was
here,
a
yes.
yeah, I'm here. That was a wonderful exercise session, don't you think so?
Yeah,
Everyone,
Very
Yes.
nice.
it was
Definitely.
very nice.
It's
I think
really
it was.
what I want, Shobha. It's really what I want.
Yeah,
very
I
good
understood.
point.
You know, when you were
Very good.
describing Aarti, I remembered that, you have told me that we should keep it very, very demonstrative. And I think Dr. Prasad has succeeded in that. And why not we ask her to kind of make a small video clip and send it to our group? Will it be useful, Aarti? Will that be useful?
We will have
Yes,
this.
yes, yes.
We will have this recording. We will edit it into her session and Dr. Poonam's session, and we will upload it, and then we will share the link, and we will put only their session, so that is rather brief. So, and it's watchable.
I think after editing, it will become more crisp and, something which people can look at if they are exercising. They can open that video and guidance. And I request Aarti and Dr. Pushpa Sethi, the ma'am, that whether we could upload such video bites onto the website.
Yes.
Onto the MS website.
course,
We will be uploading it in our YouTube channel, which
on
is
the YouTube also.
already
YouTube also.
website.
So
Okay.
yeah,
You-
that's great. If Walter Bushnell personnel can help in the editing and submitting it to Dr. Aarti Gupta so that she can do the needful.
No, it is done already. Last
Yeah.
Today by Dr. Nirja.
Nirja is doing it. Oh, great. That is wonderful.
Yeah.
So thank you. Huge thanks to Dr. Aarti Prasad as well for honoring my invite and coming here. Thank you
And
very much.
Thank you so much,
It's a
everyone.
pleasure, Shobha, to say yes to the Menopause Society because I didn't have to exercise in order to
Remain
keep
healthy.
your health up. And especially y'all being gynecologists, you all have no time. You all need to do quick exercise movements.
the
Okay?
edit is actually done by Dr. Asna, and she's very good at it. She'll be doing that, and she will be in
Okay.
part of our group.
That's wonderful.
Hmm.
Okay, then. I think
Okay, thank
I
you.
think we shall close. Thank you,
Okay,
everyone.
bye, bye-bye.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Walter
Bye.
Bushnell.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
thank you, ma'am. Thank you for giving us this opportunity, ma'am. We are looking forward to more such programs in the coming weeks, ma'am. Thank you,
Hi.
all the panelists and attendees.
Yeah.
Thank you.